everyone and welcome back to my kitchen. Today I wanted to show you guys a really quick roasted pork chop recipe. Now before we get into the whole cooking process, I want to go over all of my ingredients. So the ingredients that I'll be needing today to make my recipe are some pork chops, some sliced onions, some red wine, some olive oil, some ground black pepper, some butter, some Worcestershire sauce, my green seasoning, some salt to taste, ground Geera or cumin, paprika, and ground garlic. At this time I'm going to go ahead and season up my pork chops. I wanted to let you guys know that I took the butter, the red wine, and the onions and I put them aside because that's what I'm going to use to make my sauce at the end to put over my pork chops when they're done baking. So what I want to do first is I want to grab some olive oil and you want to just drizzle it all over these pork chops. What we're going to do is we're going to brown them in a pan first just to get a nice crust on them, and then we're going to go ahead and put them in the oven at a high heat so they can roast really nicely. So after I put my oil on, what I want to do is I want to go ahead and sprinkle on some salt. Use as much or a little salt as you would like on your pork chops. And then what you want to do is you want to get some black pepper and you want to go ahead and put that on top too. And now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and add in our dry seasonings now. So you want to add in half of your Geera or your cumin. Because what we're going to do is we're going to sprinkle the other half of these spices on the other side also. This way we get a nice even coating. So I put my Geera on. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to add in my paprika. I'm going to use half of that also. Now when you're making any type of meat, you could really jazz it up to your own taste. These are the things that I like on my meat, so that's why I'm putting them on. And we're also going to add in our garlic. And I'm using granulated garlic versus the fresh garlic because if I was using fresh garlic then it would burn in the pan as well as when we're going to go ahead and bake it. And then now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take half of my green seasoning and I'm going to go ahead and just dab it on the one side of the meat. You want to do this with half of your green seasoning and then you'll put the other half on the other side. And for this you really have to get your hands dirty to get all the seasonings nicely seeped into the meat. What we're going to do is we're going to add in half of our Worcestershire sauce. I'm going to go ahead and just rub it in. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and flip over my meat and I'm going to repeat this whole process on the other side, and then we're going to rub it a little more with our hands so we can go on to the next step. When I have my pork chops here that I seasoned really nicely, I made sure to massage them with my hands so this way all the seasoning could get seeped inside. Now I have a cast iron pan here to go ahead and sear my meat in. So I put some olive oil in the pan and you can see it's smoking at this point. So I'm going to go ahead and add in 2 at a time. And you're going to see this going to start to sizzle very nicely, and that's what you want so they can develop a nice crust. And by using the cast iron pan, it also helps with getting a crust on your meat. So since these are only about a ½ inch thick, I'm going to leave it on one side for about a minute each. And after a minute, I'm going to flip it over, and then I'm going to go ahead and transfer it on a baking tray that I lined with foil paper, and I put a wrap on so this way they can roast. So I'm going to go ahead and flip this after 1 minute, and then I'm going to let it cook for an additional minute on the other side, and then I'll transfer it to this rack and I'll show you guys the next step. Now that I've put my pork chops in the oven, I want to show you guys how to make a really delicious red wine sauce to top them with when they come out of the oven. So what you want to do is you want to take all of the drippings and all of those little bits that you see at the bottom of the pan, and you want to add in a sliced onion inside of this. And you're going to go ahead and stir up these onions until all of the bits come off from the bottom and the onions are really nice and soft and almost translucent. You don't want them falling apart, you just want them to cook a little bit. You're going to see all these beautiful bits start to come off onto the onions. Nice dark golden brown bits. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to let this fry up in my pan here for a little bit. I have it on a medium heat, and I'm going to let it fry for about 5 to 8 minutes, or just until my onions start to soften. At that point, we're going to start finishing off our sauce. I've had my onions frying here for about 6 minutes now, and they're nice and dark and golden brown because of all the bits that they picked up from the bottom of the pan. At this point, I want to add in my red wine. And you hear that sizzle? All of that red wine is going to pick up everything else that's left at the bottom of the pan and give this sauce a really great flavor. So what you want to do now is let this cook on a medium heat for about another 4 to 5 minutes, just so all of that alcohol from the red wine can burn out. You don't want that raw alcohol taste in your sauce. So I'm going to go ahead and let this simmer for about 5 minutes, and then I'm going to show you guys the last step in this sauce making process. The onions have been simmering here with the red wine for about 5 minutes now, and the sauce really got nice and thick, but it's still able to pour over all of the pork chops. At this point, I'm going to add in my butter just to finish off the sauce. This butter is just going to add a nice richness to the sauce, and it really adds a nice glossiness to it also. So once my butter melts, you want to cut off the stove, and then you can go ahead and serve this over your pork chops. I have my pork chops here, guys. I pulled the pork chops out of the oven after about 10 minutes, and that's because the pork chops are pretty thin. They're only about ½ an inch thick. So once I pull them out of the pan, I still know that they're going to cook a little more, so I didn't want to overcook them. So I plated the sauce in the middle there, and when you're ready to serve, you can just go ahead and put the sauce on top of the pork. But here it is, and that's it, guys. I really hope you guys enjoyed being in the kitchen with me again today. Please give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel so this way you can see when I post new videos, and please leave a comment down below on what you guys would like me to make next. Thanks for watching.